this person was confused. Like, can I go down the ramp? Well, the ramp's open. Can I go down? I don't think I can go down the ramp.
Uh-oh.
There's no stop sign. So they've stopped. And now they're starting to wave other people through. Just, I guess this is a test subject to make sure there's not like an ogre hiding behind the truck, ready to club them if they come on by. Oh, he made it through. Fine. There we go. So that's how I roll.
Not even road construction doing it to you. Just a semi that's stalled and then a confused driver behind the semi.
It is amazing to me. We are all driving 70 miles, 75 miles an hour in a glass metal box. And considering how many people are like, I don't know what I'm going to do, or glug, 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 glug before they hit the road. It is amazing to me that we don't have more fatalities on the roadways, if you want to know the truth. Because people just make it up. My personal favorite is elderly people with roundabouts. Oh, is that just a delight?
Well, that doesn't go well at all. No.
They're like, what do I do here? It's like there's a constant turn going on. And I can't tell you how many times I've had this happen where they've stopped. They realized they went past where they should have turned off. And as opposed to just going around the circle one more time, they stop and they throw it into reverse for a second to think that that's a viable option with like 3 cars behind them. Yeah, it does make for a little bit of stress. Not as stressful as some people, though, Brett. Have you, Brett, seen the video of the guy at the Coldplay concert? What happened up there?
I have not, no.
Oh, God, you've got to see this because it's brilliant. A tech CEO got caught in an embrace with a coworker on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert, causing both to flee in embarrassment and sparking cheating allegations. Now, I am not joking when I say that when they all of a sudden were up on this big, and apparently Coldplay has this big circular video disc that's out there, and they're just showing people in the crowd. And this guy is pawing her like a bear on a beehive. I mean, he is all over her. And they point to him, and all of a sudden, when they realize they're on the camera, she kind of, well, they each stop embracing. She puts her hand up to block her face, but what he does is, chef's kiss. He dives off to the left and tries to get out of the camera angle. It's like, I don't think anyone would have noticed. I mean, the worst thing that probably could have happened would be, that's someone that looks like my boss, possibly hugging someone that might not be his wife. I don't know if that's true. But the fact that you did that and you basically tried to run away from it, it has gone so viral, there's no way you can escape it. The viral footage showed Astronomer CEO. Do you know what the company Astronomer is?
That's a company, not a job title?
Is it one of those apps that does the night sky thing?
Yes.
Astronomer CEO Andy Byron and his company's chief people officer, Kristen Cabot, where I think she took the job title too seriously, awkwardly jumped out of each other's arms as they flashed up on the kiss cam during the band's show in Boston on Wednesday night. In the clip shared on TikTok, Coldplay frontman Chris Martin can be heard saying, "Oh, look at these two," as the camera pans over to Byron and Cabot. Byron, who has his arms wrapped around Cabot, quickly let go of his coworker, covered her face with her hands, and then he crouched down trying to hide. "Oh, wait, either they're having an affair or they're just very shy," Martin quipped as the pair ran away where they were standing. Yes, there you go. I actually, what had happened is I got here, I'm all set up. I had to go get my phone. And the reason why is not so much for the guys in Chicago and Seattle. Of course, WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. But just for the folks mainly here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, there is a trial. Has there been a verdict announced yet, or the jury in the Nicole Mitchell trial?
Not that I've seen yet, no.
That's why I need to have this thing, because they went to jury today. I'll talk a lot more about this in the 4:00 hour, the next hour coming up here, but just FYI, this is, I've talked about this week. This is one of those cases where, because it was a Democratic senator, a narrative was created in this whole thing, not only because of the Republicans and the right-wing news media, but the news media overall. When this trial started, and the first thing you find out is that, and without getting into too many details, the main witness against the senator is deeply suffering from Alzheimer's, right now. That was never part of this. And to a point where she was on the stand and she couldn't recollect when her husband died and contradicted the police that wasn't the crowbar I found, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But we're going to keep an eye on, just for that, we're keeping an eye on that news story as it goes. I do have to take some time to talk about three things which, are somewhat concerning about Trump in regards to his health. Now, once again, I am one of these people, I don't generally celebrate the death of anybody. I do not think that is a right thing to do. I mean, sure, there are times in history I'll make an exception, Hitler, that sort of thing. Not too upset about, when Jeffrey Dahmer got killed. No, not too upset about that. No. But at the same time, I always think to myself that there is, regardless of how bad somebody is, there are people that actually do care about this individual who are grieving. And for them, I specifically kind of, I don't start dancing on people's graves. Don't get me wrong. If I've got, if I'm heading to South Carolina and I see Strom Thurmond's gravestone there, I'm going to go get a few pictures of some sort of beverage so I can load up right before I go over there and give him the salute he deserves. But at the same time, when they pass away, I generally don't, I'm not exactly going to, high five and celebrate. We don't do that. Donald Trump, I don't think, is very well. Now, his memory has been a problem, and it's been a problem for a while, and it really came to light this week when he could not remember that he was the guy that put Jerome Powell on the Fed. And he was, the Fed chair is Jerome Powell. He appointed him in 2017, and he very insistently said how that Joe Biden put him on the Fed. No, you did. That's why his term is actually up next year, no matter what. But you were the one that put him on the Fed. And he didn't remember that. But, that's always been the case. He always has been. He is an older guy. What is he, 79 now? I believe he's 79 now. He's an older guy, and he still eats like a 16-year-old. He still eats fast food. He does not exercise as much as his staff. I mean, his staff today, or was it Speaker Johnson today, said he has a 90% approval rating. They're just making this stuff up. I mean, this is North Korea propaganda stuff. He is grossly obese. He does not exercise. He eats atrociously. And for a man, I'm 57. If I did that, I don't think I'd have many days left on this planet. At his age, it's not helping things. But it was two things particular that caught people's attention. The first was this bruise on his hand. Now, older people are frailer. That's the truth. And I understand that Trump fan does not want to believe that he is older, but he is. I mean, just think about, your elderly grandmother or your grandfather that, you come over one day and there's a bruise. And so what happened? And so I stumbled and I hit my hand on the coffee table. And, I can tell you right now, as a 57-year-old, I'll get a bruise and it sticks with me a lot longer than they used to. So that's one thing. But then it was the ankles. And I believe it was at the FIFA World Cup was where we first noticed his ankles. And they were very, very swollen. And it's, and as a matter of fact, I saw a picture of him. I think it wasn't it was another event where his feet are basically kind of stuffed into shoes and they're overlapping. The skin on his ankles is overlapping the shoe somewhat as he's full of water. Now, for a lot of people out there, and especially Chicago, Seattle, you may not know this, but back in 2021, I was supposed to go get a hip replacement surgery. I know, 57. And I went in and the doctor said, there's a real problem here. You're putting on weight. And I'm like, well, I don't eat that bad and I exercise. He goes, but you're putting on a lot of weight. And I mean, a lot of weight. And he says, this doesn't look, I'm looking at you right now and it does not look right. Something is wrong here. And so they sent me down to a kidney expert, and the kidney expert diagnosed me with what's called MCD, minimal change disease, which is basically your kidneys stop filtering out proteins, And it ends up basically your body starts holding water. And I started puffing up huge. And I was filling full of water. Usually does not happen to people in their 50s. It's usually something that's, it's, as the kidney specialist said to me, he said, if you were 18 years old, I wouldn't even take a biopsy. I'd know right away, this is what it is. But with your age, we want to check. And it was minimal change disease. They had to basically kickstart my kidneys with enough steroids to get the Oakland A's through the playoffs in the 1980s. So it was something where it was a lot of steroids and as well a lot of diuretic, and to the point where I was constantly going to the bathroom because I had to get this water out of me. The good news is the steroids re-kicked up. My kidneys kicked back into gear. They started working just fine. They started filtering the protein again. And but I am still on a diuretic for the rest of my life just because they want to be careful. And so I take a very light dosage, torsemide. I take a very light dosage of it. And, it basically keeps the extra water off my body. But if I go hike a long ways, like I go to a park and I go hike for 4 or 5 miles, I notice I'm starting to pick up water again. So I got to be careful with it. When I was going to the hospital for that, that's what what Trump's legs look like were what my legs look like. And that's not good. More on this when I come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Rudy Luther Toyota has a great way for you to purchase your next vehicle. It's the Toyota Smart Path. You can shop at the dealership or on your couch. Shop smarter by saving time. And remember, they'll have the best prices and no surprises. You can browse the available vehicles, use the Smart Path payment estimator to customize your own payments, apply for financing, and then finalize your purchase. Smart Path is the smartest path to your new vehicle. Check it out online at rudyluthertoyota.com or stop by Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. So, no, I had this thing where, I was swelling up And it reminds me when I see Trump's legs that was kind of what it was like. And that's once again, I'm in remission now. I'm my kidneys are fine. I still go get tested once a year, and that's fine. But one of the things, and I'll tell you what, let me get to the story here, because the White House is trying to diffuse this. Now people are paying attention with how Trump looks every time he's on the stage, and they're noticing, like I said, not at the FIFA World Cup, but I think it was today, his feet look very swollen again, kind of almost, like he's wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small, sort of thing. A day after the most recent speculation about Trump's bruised hand and swollen ankles, the White House offered up his doctor's diagnosis: chronic venous insufficiency, which causes blood to pool in the veins. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt described the condition as benign and claimed the president remains in excellent health. Great leader does remain in excellent health, she says. But CNN's Brianna Keller did not take the diagnosis at face value. She asked a medical expert how the president's age, lack of cardiovascular activity, and other lifestyle factors could worsen the diagnosis. So it appears the White House physicians were so concerned about more than meets the eye, said cardiologist Dr. Bernard Ashby, before mentioning the additional tests performed by Trump's doctors, including an echocardiogram and lower extremity ultrasounds. Essentially, they were covering all their bases, meaning they were screening him for the heart failure, and which was a common cause of lower extremity swelling. In addition to that, they were concerned with increased pressure in his heart. Now, taking a step back, looking at the entire case, the president is obese. Now, this is the doctor saying this. The president is obese. He's older, and I don't know if he has hypertension, but that's very common in his age group, particularly with his body habitus. So when you do have a condition like lower extremity swelling, bilateral, and diagnosis of venous insufficiency, the question is it intrinsic to the veins? Meaning, does the venous insufficiency that it has, is it related to bad valves, or is it related to increased pressure coming from the heart? Ashby continued, even though he's diagnosed with benign conditions, venous insufficiency by itself doesn't necessarily mean it's benign. And the question is, what's causing insufficiency? And that's the question. Is, it's kind of like saying, the problem is they have, and just for an example, the problem is you have asthma, but what they're saying, they've got shortness of breath, but the shortness of breath is benign. Well, no, what's causing the shortness of breath is the concern. That's the asthma. And so you deal with the asthma. You don't just take the symptom and act as if that's the diagnosis. And that's kind of what the White House is doing. I saw a nurse last night list off, she goes, I have been dealing with elderly patients with this problem for years. Here are all the medications he is probably on, which she listed at least 6 medications, which she said, this is for this is for this, and a diuretic. That's going to be the kind of case. And there was once again another doctor who basically said that you can get a good, at his age, if you address this and you change your lifestyle, yeah, you can basically get another 7-8 years of life easy out of this. But the question is, will Trump change his lifestyle? And I just don't see Trump becoming the white rice and vegetable eating kind of guy. That's just not who he's been. And so this is getting, it's a little concerning. I will say this, with the amount of liquid that he's in his body, because one of the things that's going to happen, and here's where I tie back to what I was going to mention earlier. One of the reasons why they figured out what I had, MCD, was because I went biking one day and I got a scrape on my leg. And for like 2 months, this leg wound was kind of seeping a little bit with water. And I'm like, what is going on here? And they couldn't figure it out either until they saw this. And then they went and sent me to the kidney specialist. That's when they figured it out. What eventually does happen here is you will need to get to a point where the water is pooling so much in your body that it will start just seeping out of the skin. And that does something that happened. I don't know where Trump is with that. Compression socks are a big point of that. I had to wear them when I was recovering from this. I still have them at home. If I ever actually kind of feel like I'm a little swollen, I can still put some compression socks on. But once again, it's one of those things where people who generally haven't worn compression socks are generally abhorrent to, they're against wearing compression socks, even though they can help. That sort of thing. So I will say this. I mean, if you're having this kind of problem, go talk to a doctor. There's lots of things you can do. There's probably some medications you can take, and that's an important thing. I think that's a very important thing. The problem is that Trump is probably not going to do this. But here is something that all of a sudden, when I realized this, I started asking myself, okay, how serious is this? Do you remember when J.D. Vance came into the White House? He was the littlest jackass that ever lived. You know, he was just petty and small, and he was running around. Well, hold on a second there. When was the last time you saw J.D. Vance say something stupid like when he did to the Ukrainian president? When was the last time? Seriously, think about that. When was the last time J.D. Vance is out there saying, the EU sucks, man? Or something like that.
That's a good point. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he said some things, I think, about China, and then about South Africa, and then the EU after the Ukrainian thing. But that was over 2 months ago. Have you noticed all of a sudden he is not on the world stage right now making the stupid comments that he was? That's when I stepped back and I said, wait a second here. Did somebody pull him aside and say, before you become Johnny Stupid anymore, well, too late, but before you get dumber, maybe you should start pursing your words a little bit more, because you don't want to be the guy who comes out there and says, I hate the EU. The EU sucks. The EU's horrible. And then the next day come out, it's like, what I was really talking about is how I look forward to our trade negotiations with our good friends in the EU. You don't want to be that guy, because that generally doesn't end too well for you. And J.D. Vance is actually, I mean, he's been in there to do some tie-breaking votes, but even then he's not been too vocal. He's, done some of the usual Trump high-fiving about certain things getting done, but he's not saying a lot right now, which is actually my bigger concern. Because are the people around Trump realizing that Trump actually is having some, once again, serious health problems? Because I want to go back to what they were saying here, that it could be something far worse. It could be like extreme swelling like this. What is going on here? Is it bad valves? Is it related to increased pressure coming from the heart? If Trump, Mr. I love my, value meals at McDonald's, if he is basically having extreme heart problems now, which this is not like he's 55. I mean, he's old. He's old, and he eats atrociously, and he doesn't exercise really. And he's obese, and he's holding a lot of water. If it's the heart thing, have the powers that be within the White House pulled Vance aside and said, you probably don't want to be on the record too much right now in regards to bashing on all these countries, because there's an outside chance you might have to be the point person and not in the far future. Let's take a break. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Park Tavern has delicious food and great bowling, and now the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio is open and waiting for you. And make sure you catch the live music on the patio. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 8 p.m., live music awaits you with the Park Tavern's full menu available. Reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, live music and outdoor fun are back at the Park Tavern.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
July is the annual store-wide sale at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Come see our diverse selection of wood, gas, or electric fireplace products for indoor and outdoor living. And right now, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces can assure you the best price of the season on every product in the store. Let Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces help you choose and experience the joy of sitting by a fire.
Summer is a great time to install your fireplace. You can find your perfect fireplace and have it installed and ready before the cold weather hits again. If you already have a wood fireplace, consider a fireplace insert. Come and see the entire selection at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces on East Franklin and Riverside in Minneapolis. They will create a fireplace that works for you. Efficient, clean burning, and environmentally smart.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, since 1977, out of the ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 76. Tonight, showers and storms with a low around 65. And Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 79. Jessica Kirson is bringing her signature comedy style to the Uptown Theater on Sunday, November 23rd. This one-night-only event is your chance to see one of the most talked-about comics live on stage. Tickets are now on sale at Ticketmaster.com. That's Ticketmaster.com.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 a.m., KKNW, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul, on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. There's two other things. One, he is 79. I just confirmed that. But there is also the other thing is he's got the most stressful job on the planet. And I understand he basically doesn't really do the job like any other president ever has. I mean, forget about Carter, who was a micromanager. He doesn't even do it like, kind of the halfway attempt that George W. used to do. He really is kind of on the sidelines, but he still has to do the presidential stuff. And trust me, for a guy like that, that is far more work and more stress than he wants. And especially then when he gets asked questions, who are you? The nasty reporter who's asking me these nasty questions. You can tell that is it's weighing on him. So, yeah, okay. What is your over under that he makes it to the end of his term and he doesn't? I mean, I'm not. Once again, this is not about him dying, but just basically his health deteriorates enough that they basically say, you know what, we're going to have him resign and J.D. Vance is going to become the president of the United States. And then, try to give J.D. Vance a running start at the next election. Oh, God, that will be delightful to watch. But anyway, I'd say right now, I mean, especially with this, because, okay, once again, when I had my problem, the MCD, they could reboot my kidneys. I mean, right now, with the diuretic this guy is taking, I guarantee you he is either in the bathroom half the time or, and this is just a reality of this sort of thing, he's wearing an adult diaper. Because it just is, I mean, these diuretics work. Okay, let's just put it this way. These diuretics work. So I just don't know how much longer does he want. I mean, if his health starts really deteriorating, how much longer does he really want to be in the job? He'll issue a whole bunch of pardons, walk out the door, and let Vance take over. I'd say there's probably an 80% chance he doesn't stay in office until the end of his current term, especially with these two health things. So I also wanted to make sure I talk about what happened to PBS and Stephen Colbert. And I'll start with PBS. Now, once again, if you are relatively new to the show, you have not heard my little spiel about the Republicans and taking over the national news media. And once again, if you look at the what they have done over a 35-year time slice, it is you cannot deny that the Republicans' long game is incredible and is pretty amazing to be able to get this stuff done. When Reagan was in office, they realized that, and it even goes back to, Republicans realized after FDR that Republicans just being Republicans were going to look like they were cold-hearted, because the Democrats, especially through FDR, to save the country, to get through the Great Depression and save us from in World War II, and then of course Truman afterwards as well, they basically created social safety programs, and that's what got us through. Eisenhower realized he had to cut those programs, and he basically had meetings where he said, we're going to get, talked about what we have to do is, then we have to sell it. When you get to the Reagan 80s, I mean, there was always the ulterior motives that were starting to come out, which was the beginnings of this idea of creating a system where if they could get it implemented into place, the Republicans could basically hold control over this country with a minimal amount of the votes. All they had to do was get a few things set up, rig the Supreme Court, rig the electoral system in many states, and the handful of states, and make sure that Republican values are the only values taught in at least 25 states, so that Senate is pretty much, going to be, there's never a question in those states on whether their senators are going to be Republicans or Democrats. But one of the main things that they had to address was the media, which, once again, just if they do their job, sometimes it just makes them look bad because they're the ones taking food out of hungry people's mouths. There was a three-pronged attack that they got rid of what was called the Fairness Doctrine. And if you don't know what the Fairness Doctrine was a brilliant piece of legislation that basically said if you presented one political point of view on a radio station or a television station or in a newspaper, that you had to also give equal space, time, consideration to the opposing political point of view. That you had to have diversity, you had to have discussion, and you had to have conjecture and context. That's what you had to have. It was great that back in, if you go back to listen to old radio, you would have some broadcasters who would completely stay away from politics because they just didn't want to get involved in it. But you'd have like the left-wing sports guy followed by the right-wing gardener. And it was just this really kind of diverse thing. When they got rid of the Fairness Doctrine, which they deemed was not necessary anymore, of course not. They basically created a new world where it was no longer about quality, it was about ideology. And as long as a certain ideology was getting pushed, that was the case. The second thing they had to do was get rid of the ownership rules, which basically limited the amount of media a person could own in this country. And the Telecommunications Act of 1996 did that indeed. They basically opened up the ownership rules, and almost overnight you had, 20 people owning something like 70% of all the radio and television stations in the country. It was pretty obscene. And with that came an ability to put one political point of view out there. When you look at, this was a long game sort of situation where they, it really was amazing that the amount of money that they had to get and put out there and push to get this done. They bought up station after station after station, and they just, you're all covering the right-wing talkers. You're all covering the right-wing talkers. They got rid of anyone who wasn't pushing right-wing talking points. And go out into rural parts of this country, and that's the only news you hear. The only news you hear on a radio station or on a television station is ones that have filtered through a Republican leading editor or owner who basically say, you have to be right-wing on this. You cannot, our audience doesn't want to hear about those liberals. You need to push the American way. And if a station ever got out of line, well, then all of a sudden they'd start, threatening their license or going after their advertisers. And, it created this vacuum. outside of one last thing: public radio. If you go around this country, there are, like I said, large swaths of this country which push a right-wing news narrative. And the only option on the public airwaves that is not a Rush Limbaugh-esque type of broadcast is the 2-minute news update at the top of the hour on the classical station. And for the Republicans, that was too much. And there have been some hurdles. I mean, once again, you can look at the Republicans in, they didn't really take the internet seriously until basically 2016, and then they really started. I mean, they infiltrated Twitter at that point and other social media sites and started pushing right-wing agendas. Then they just outright bought Twitter for this election cycle. And they're trying to shut down TikTok. They're not doing that because they want freedom of speech. They're doing that because they have set up this entire world where people only get a right-wing perspective. And they don't want anything threatening that. So PBS, public television, they had to be stopped. That is, it is a travesty because these are, and one of the things that you can find out, I mean, in South Dakota, they got etched out a compromise, and it's not sure if it's just for South Dakota, it's for other places, but in South Dakota, the public radio stations are the only places they actually send out the EMS, the emergency management system, the like tornado warnings, stuff like this, especially on the Native American reservations. And one of the South Dakota House members the House member from South Dakota, I think, was saying, I'm not going to vote for this unless you basically carve out something to keep those radio stations that are, dealing with Native American tribes running. So there's something that they did. They moved some money around to get his vote on board, but there's a lot of places where that's not going to apply. And you can run through rural America. There is a ton of places where the only place you're going to get your emergency management fire off is the public radio station. It is a shame. I will say this, something I said 15 years ago when I started this show. PBS pandering to this right-wing mentality, thinking that maybe they'll go easy on me. You effing idiots. Oh, you morons. Oh, yeah, they sure went easy on you. You sold your soul, and all it cost you was everything. Oh, good for you. Speaking of that, CBS. Well, actually, not CBS, it's Paramount. I, like most other people last night, were stunned to find out that Paramount has decided to cancel Stephen Colbert and The Late Show. Paramount, you can try to come on out and talk about cost savings and all this stuff. The reality is this was a tribute to Trump. In case you don't know, what is happening is Paramount is trying to get sold to Skydance. And Skydance is a right-wing run media outlet that wants to take control of Paramount. And Paramount, and my guess is the executives at Paramount are looking at personally tens of millions of dollars worth of profit, or maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars of personal profit in this thing going through. So they wanted to go through. And the first thing that they did was they threw 60 Minutes under the bus. Once again, they gave, was it $16 million? They gave $16 million to Trump to settle a lawsuit, which I have yet to see any legal expert come back and say CBS was going to lose. Every one of them said it was laughable, that there was no point in even go into court. You won't even get to trial. The judge will throw this case out because it's so ludicrous. And Paramount, as a tribute to Trump, settled the case, basically apologized for nothing, and validated Trump because they want Trump to sign off on the FCC to sign off on the sale of Paramount to Skydance. As much as they want to sit there and say, and basically Colbert called that out, and he said, "Yeah, that's a buy-off. that's called a bribe." Well, apparently they felt as if they needed another pound of flesh. Now, CBS is now in a really bad spot because if they yank him off the air before they said, now, then it's clearly because they just don't like his politics. But now the guy has nothing to lose. And if you think he's about to start pulling his punches and talking about, let's talk about the airports. No, my guess is going to be Colbert is going to be must watch for the next 10 months because he is going to unload on Paramount and Skydance and Trump constantly, and they deserve it. Once again, he gets more viewers than any of the other broadcast late night shows. I mean, he's got 750,000 more than Kimmel. It's 1 million plus more than Fallon. He's the number one show, and they canceled him because they were pandering to Trump. I guess they just wanted to be the really, really, really old network. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Hi, Penny here from Nightingale in Minneapolis. Exciting news. During the warmer months, we're extending our charm to the patio. Imagine savoring your favorite dishes outside, surrounded by the lively energy of South Minneapolis near 26th and Lindale. And guess what? Nightingale's patio is not just a dining space. It's also dog-friendly. Craft cocktails, curated wines, and half-price bottles of wine on Mondays are still part of the deal. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with a full menu until midnight. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
For a decade, it's captivated Twin Cities audiences, and now the cultural phenomenon Glen Sheen returns. This captivating musical by Jeffrey Hatcher and Chan Poling features strong performances from a talented 7-member ensemble and Ron Peluso's brilliant direction. It's a limited engagement July 7th through the 25th at the History Theater in downtown St. Paul. Get tickets at historytheater.com. That's History Theater, spelled R-E.com.
The Zero Res Master Certified Area Rug Cleaning Team in St. Louis Park is having the biggest cleaning sale of the year. Clean 1 rug and get 20% off. 2 rugs, 25% off. 3 area rugs get 50% off your area rug cleaning purchase. Pickup and delivery options are available. We're getting into the heat of the summer. You're going to be having barbecues, friends and family over at your house. Your rug called that's tired of being stomped on, spilled on, sneezed on, and ignored like a salad at a barbecue. We treat your rugs gently, even the fancy ones you bought on vacation and immediately regretted. Wool, synthetic, braided, patterned, passed down from grandma. If it lays flat and collects dirt, we clean it. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Spell it backward or forward spells the same. It still spells, dang, that rug looks good. Zero Res.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges, we print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at MaryTinc.com.
is the Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205. Dick is in Minneapolis. Let's give him a chance to talk here. Welcome on in, sir.
Yes. I thought something when you were talking about Trump's health.
Yep.
There is another possibility, given some of my experiences. They don't have to have him wearing an adult diaper. There's another way of doing it.
Well, yeah, they got the catheter. They can put that in there. You know,
Yeah.
it depends on how much. But the problem is that it depends on how much water they're trying to get out of him, and that's a bit of a problem. And it does not look like he's got a device on him that would help on that level.
Oh, I've had people tell me that they thought it looked like he had was wearing one of those.
Oh, maybe he is. I have not seen that. Dick, I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. I think that it could also be a kidney condition. I mean, if you're just gonna, someone made this point, it's like you had a kidney condition. It might not be a heart, it could be a kidney thing. Yeah, it could be. Although, and one thing as I've gotten older, I've come to realize kidneys and livers and stuff like that, they're not made for, they're about 80 plus years. That's about it, and then you start having some problems with those. We'll have to see. I want to touch on this once again, and I'm going to do my prerequisite thing. Absolutely, Israel should never have been attacked by Hamas. That was disgusting and horrible and inexcusable, and should hold those people together. The response Israel has had has been so damn heavy-handed, and the fact that they are openly targeting food aid lines and just randomly shooting people now is, at this point, equally disturbing. The level of chaos. I mean, they've gotten their revenge. It's now just, it seems, for fun that they're trying to wipe out the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And once again, I want to remind people of something. All Palestinians are not Hamas. Those are two different things. We had the story of an American citizen beaten to death by a mob of Israeli settlers who were trying to force a relative of his off their property so they could steal it. I think that was in the West Bank. Yeah, they beat him with bats and stuff. The Israeli people beat an American citizen to death with bats and prevented an ambulance from getting to him to save him. And Israel and Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, have shared, we're really going to track this down. Sure you are. Yeah. I mean, that's basically, they're saying, right now they're saying an Israeli can basically kill an American citizen, and they're going to take the side of the Israeli killing the American citizen. It's disgusting. But what's going on right now in the Gaza is, there's a report today I saw that Israel has just started to blow up all the buildings there. They're going block by block and with coordinated demolition teams, just knocking every building down. Regardless of whether there's a target in there or not, they're basically getting ready to move it all because they're going to take it over and they want to create beachfront property in the Gaza. And there's this other slight problem, the Palestinians who live there. So the director of Israel's Mossad visited Washington this week seeking U.S. help in convincing countries to take hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from Gaza. The spy chief, David Bernia, told White House envoy Steve Witkoff that Israel has been speaking in particular with Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Libya. Now, I can understand why, after what you're doing to the Palestinians, you want to ship them across the globe and have them nowhere near Israel for any, potential future thing that's going to happen, because it is the freaking Middle East. But you are going to just move a few 100,000 people to a country, and let's just be honest, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Libya are not exactly known for their human rights. And it seems like what you're trying to do, they're willing to take them because, hey, cheap labor. We can get the Palestinians here and they can basically, do all the manual labor jobs in our country. In their meeting this week, Bernardo told Witkoff that Ethiopia, Indonesia, Libya had expressed openness to receiving large numbers of Palestinians from Gaza, which the Netanyahu government is just calling a relocation. A lot of other people are calling it a war crime, which, just standing back from it, it seems a little more war crimey than relocation. You're just basically taking all their stuff and saying you need to go away, but you can't go to a neighboring country because they don't want you too close to them for potential security reasons because you're one of them. And so you want to ship them around. The U.S., the Israeli government wants the U.S. to offer incentives. Once again, the Israelis want to move these Palestinians, but they want the U.S. to give the other countries the money and the incentives to move the Palestinians there. My guess is they have already given Trump 10 miles of beachfront property to build some resorts on. And so now this is the payoff. Hey, we'll give you the beachfront property. It's all yours. Just you got to get the U.S. taxpayers to pay for us war criming-ish the Palestinians away from the Gaza to another country, which is nowhere nearby. Witkoff was non-committal. It's not clear the U.S. will actively weigh on the issue, one said. I would say this. Do not tell me after you have just cut food aid for the hungry, Medicaid for the sick, ag programs for the farmer, education programs for the cool, anything that you could cut for the middle and lower class, you just have with a smile on your face, and now tell us the taxpayers have to front the bill for the rest of for Israel. We have to flip the bill for Israel to ship the Palestinians to Indonesia? No. Big no. Chicago, Seattle. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-89.
a.m. at the Biscayne's training facility. It isn't immediately known what caused the explosion or what the deputies were doing at the time. I'm Haya Panjwani.
This is AP News.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-1010. That's 1-800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-694-1010. Details on example rate at Select.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 76. Tonight, showers and storms around 65. And Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 79. Make it a night to remember at Crooner's Supper Club. Incredible live music, 4-star food, handcrafted drinks, and first-class service, all in the classic supper club setting. Don't miss out. Visit croonersmn.com to plan your perfect night out. That's croonersmn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Friday. We are going to have a verdict here in just a few moments here in the Nicole Mitchell case. They went to jury, and they just announced they had a verdict. Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes, but that's going to be coming up here. Until we get to that here, Brett, I am frustrated and concerned because once again, the golden raspberry has haunted me and has left me ungolden raspberried.
Did someone find it?
Does sound really nasty. I mean, it's a golden raspberry, if you know what I mean. You have to pay extra for that usually. Yes, somebody did, because whoever this idiot is that hides this thing. Anyway, they're good clues, but man, yeah, it was the Hopkins Raspberry. It was good. I mean, the Hopkins Raspberry Festival, 91 years young, fun times to be achieved for the founders. The fact the festival lasted long would be hard to conceive. You know, you did a nice little thing here. I kind of figured out the general area where the thing was supposed to be. I don't think. Well, I'm trying to figure out. They said the golden raspberries was found. It was located by 9 Mile Creek, near 2 birch trees there. I think I know where that is, but it wasn't on my search parameters before this came up today. It was not probably in my top 5 places. So one of these years, man, I'm going to find this thing. I'm going to wear it like Flavor Flav for a year. Like it's going to be like Flavor Flav for a year. I'm going to get a big gold chain and I'm going to wear it for a year, and that's it. That's the deal.
Why go to all the work? Just make a replica.
Well, okay, because it doesn't work that way. You can't just claim.
I'll know the difference.
I'll know the difference. So, yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see, if we're going to see the verdict here in the Nicole Mitchell's thing. It's like I said, they announced the verdict is in. Haven't seen anything come through yet. Yeah, and once again, they have a verdict, but sometimes it takes a little bit. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get everyone in the courtroom and get everyone set up before they can do this. It depends on where people are, and once again, too, prosecutors could have gone back to their office, stuff like that. So, are you keeping an eye on this, perchance?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet that they've announced it.
All right. Feel free to break in. I'll get onto some other things here. I've got to give the racket. God, you guys are just so good. You guys are just so good. This is the headline that they had yesterday in response to Scott Jensen announcing he was running in for the governor's race. Weirdest man alive announces doomed encore to failed Minnesota gubernatorial run. Remember Dr. Almost Governor Scott Jensen, quack peddler of COVID misinformation, circulator of right-wing internet hoaxes, and 2022 Republican candidate for governor of Minnesota? Well, he's rested, he's ready, and he's running again in 2026. That's right. Yikes. Just yikes. In 2022, if 22 feels like the eons ago to you, let's do a quick rundown. Jensen's greatest hits. He called vaccine a mild 4-day respiratory illness. Compared the treatment of anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers to that of Jews in Nazi Germany. Claimed Minnesota should be more like Iowa, though we could eliminate the state income tax and make up the difference through sales and property taxes. And in the last desperate days of the race, restated the hoax that children who identify as furries are often given litter boxes to go to the bathroom in their school classroom, adding, "We've lost our minds. We've lost our minds." Reminder, he was running with Matt Burke. Just as he claims we were losing our minds, you put Matt Burke on your ticket with you, the human Frankenstein. They've got a urethra and well, yeah, he basically went on to give a description of the bathroom capabilities of the standard human body. He lost, by the way, in 2020 by 8 points to Governor Walz. And hey, you want to get beaten again, that's fine. Unless the federal government is going to wholeheartedly throw out state elections, which it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Because say that Tom Emmer wins his district. Well, you clearly are not going to throw out his race, but there are 3 races for the Minnesota House or the Minnesota Senate in his district that the Democrats won that you want to turn out. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how you're going to validate throwing out an election just to get Republicans in charge. But I wouldn't put it past them. Anyway, Racket, absolutely outstanding job. Weirdest man alive announces doomed encore to fail the Minnesota gubernatorial run. Yeah, that's pretty much on point with that. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Still no update. Still no update on the trial yet?
I'm not seeing one. Hold on.
All right. Yeah, just keep an eye out on that.
Not yet.
Well, yeah, it's I guess while we're waiting for this, I'll go through some of the stuff from this today. The trial, I mean, the defendant's aunt, Sydney Markey, who's the sister of Nicole's father, Rod Mitchell, was the first to testify. She told jurors that Carol Mitchell agreed to give her some of Rod's ashes to scatter in Washington State. So this is Carol Mitchell. This is the woman, the stepmother who is suffering from Alzheimer's. She agreed to give some of Rod's ashes to her so she could scatter them in Washington state. But the day of his interment changed her stance. Markey said she was texted Carol that day, and Nicole Mitchell's stepmother said the urn was sealed and no ashes were available. She also texted that her house was off limits. Okay. I think she was just being mean, said Markey. Defense attorneys then asked Markey about her sister Lori, who died with a sizable estate that she wanted to split among her siblings. Markey said if Rod Mitchell had died before Lori, more than the and pardon me a second here, more than the sizable the more than the $300,000 sizable estate would have gone to Nicole Mitchell, but because Lori died suddenly and unexpectedly before her brother, the money then went to Carol, who was Rod's heir. Markey testified the money did not go to Nicole because Lori was rushed and was a mess. There were mistakes made in it, and she told the panel. During cross-examination, Becker County Attorney Brian. Now, once again, we have established that clearly the Alzheimer has taken Carol, and she is in a very unfortunate spot. But she's also, and even if you want to try to dismiss this, well, then she's just mean. And I mean, if it's not the Alzheimer's, then she just became obsessed with owning all the money and all this stuff, even though that her deceased husband didn't want it that way. And yeah. The Becker County Attorney Brian McDonald asked Markey if she knew Nicole was driving up to her stepmother's home the morning of the alleged burglary. No, she answered. McDonald then referenced the comment Markey made to a defense investigator about Nicole Mitchell's actions and wanting to ask her, what the heck were you thinking? Yeah, well, that would have been my thought on it. McDonald also referenced comments to Markey made about relationships between Nicole and Carol, who had been in the defendant's life since she was 4 years old. When asked if she referred to them as two strong-headed women who butted heads on everything, Markey agreed that was the case. The defense then called Jay Brody, a colleague of Mitchell's from the 126th Combat Flight Unit, the Wisconsin National Guard. Mitchell served as Brody's commander, and she testified that the two became good friends, seeing each other nearly every month and speaking once or twice a week. Brody testified that Nicole Mitchell spoke frequently about her stepmother, Carol, and her worsening Alzheimer's. He told the courtroom that Mitchell was concerned about Carol and felt her condition was deteriorating. So she's established that. Well, first of all, I think it's smart to do this, bring in the military service, because that's kind of one of those things that's going to, I think, resonate. But as well, I mean, it shows that, this was not something new. Nicole Mitchell had been concerned about her Alzheimer's for a while now. The witness who was asked about Nicole Mitchell as a commander, Brody, said she was an excellent boss who was trustworthy and concerned about those in the unit. She told the courtroom the 126 regularly ranked in the top of the Wisconsin National Guard units in terms of morale and satisfaction, and that was due to Mitchell's leadership. It does not sound like the prosecutor cross-examined that person, which is pretty smart. I don't think you want to look like you're attacking the military guy. The closing arguments happened. Becker County Attorney Brian McDonald making a simple declaration. Carol Mitchell is not on trial. The defendant alone is on trial, which shows you how bad this trial has gone for them. That the focus that they wanted to put on Nicole kind of all eroded the second they put Carol on the stand, and she couldn't remember when her husband died. She couldn't remember basic information. We found out she introduced her sister, Nicole, to her own stepbrother, because they didn't think, she clearly was in the grips of this, but she also is not, like I said, she comes across as, you're going to see this, is that she's just doesn't seem to be a very nice person. Alzheimer's, I know that can play a part in this, but there's definitely a lot of things going on here that she's just not very nice. And then the Alzheimer's is not helping. McDonald told jurors that the Alzheimer's disease that Nicole Mitchell's stepmother wrestles with is not what the case is about, but what the defendants did that morning. He repeatedly hammered on what he referred to as Nicole Mitchell's lies, saying the difference between the defendant says and the truth are far apart. He compared Nicole Mitchell's claims about how much you got an update here?
Yeah, we have a headline. Senator Nicole Mitchell has been convicted on both counts in the burglary trial.
All right, I'll come back to that here in a second. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll say this. This is why the police, the county prosecutor up there, the Republican Party, and the right-wing news media, and in turn, a lot of the other news media, ran with the narrative that eliminated so much of what we found out in this trial, is because they wanted to basically make sure a certain outcome was found. And reminder that these people on this jury up in Detroit Lakes were probably all spoon-fed right-wing talking points the entire time. And I'm not going to mix my words. Would I be surprised if there wasn't probably some sort of pressure on the jurors by the Republicans and right-wing media to find a certain narrative? I wouldn't be surprised. Reasonable doubt was clearly established the second Carol got on the stand and couldn't even remember when her husband died. Reasonable doubt happened there. The reason why, when this story came on out, they went with this one narrative is because they didn't want the actual truth to change the mind of the right-wing jurors in that district to basically find her not guilty. Now, I'm going to stand by, and before anyone comes at me and is like, oh, you just heard this, I said the same thing. I'm saying the same thing before. It was clear when this happened that there was some things that she needed to address, and she should have stepped aside at that point and dealt with them. I said that before. I just said that again. But without a doubt in my mind, the only reason this case went to a trial is because of the D next to her name. That under any other circumstance in that district, and I bet you there have been similar cases in that district with Republicans, they basically would have said, you guys need to find some mediator and figure this out, but we're done with this. But this was prosecution for political reasons. And now, it kind of backfired. There's going to be a special election, and thanks to Trump and the Republicans, you got no chance at winning that seat. A new Democrat will be in there, and that will be that. But when you go into that court case, and for the first time ever on Tuesday, we found out, oh yeah, did you know that Carol Mitchell had extreme Alzheimer's and she couldn't remember basic facts? You see, those were facts that basically could have started seeding doubt, and they did not want this jury not to find this certain way. And so, yeah, there you go. Nicole Mitchell, once again, guilty on both counts. And that's just that. And like I said, I have the basically the prosecution, and this is, you want more proof that this is a prosecution of a Democrat. The prosecution motioned to have Mitchell taken into custody after the verdict was read, but the judge refused. So they were trying to put her into jail. They were trying to put her into jail because she's one of those Democrats. That's what this is. Mitchell will remain free until sentencing, which has not been scheduled. Yeah, this was a prosecution because she was a Democrat. This was prosecution. And this is why is it when a Republican breaks the law, the first thing they say, well, you got to ship that case to the reddest district and the reddest court, and only if they find them guilty will they really be guilty. It's because of that. The second this happened, and once again, she did some stupid things. I said she should probably resign. But this entire prosecution, considering Carol Mitchell is mentally compromised and could not basically remember facts, it was clear that there was something far more complex going on. But this was never about actually getting justice. This was about persecuting a senator and going after her because she was a Democrat. Well, mission accomplished. It will be interesting to hear if the jury was one of those things where, 7 of the jurors were like, well, we're going to convict her no matter what because she's a Democrat. And the other jurors said, well, I want to get out of here before. Well, then you better vote with us. It's clear she's guilty. No. It's amazing to me, the viciousness, especially after listening to the testimony in this trial. It's amazing to me. And like, again, once again, the prosecutor up there wanted to jail her until sentencing because we're getting those Democrats. We're getting those Democrats. It's amazing to me how much outrage and vitriol and anger that has been drummed up about Nicole Mitchell, but yet the same people say nothing about Justin Eichhorn. Because that story has kind of disappeared, hasn't it? The Republican senator who tried to solicit an underage girl for prostitution. Yeah. That story, Matt, he deserves some privacy. We shouldn't be talking about that. Yeah, this is all political. This is all political. And like I said, and I want to be very clear, I think because there are going to be people who's like, oh, Matt was just saying she should have resigned because she clearly had some personal family issues she should have taken care of. But going through the testimony of this trial, you now understand, and I want to make sure you now understand why the right-wing media, the right-wing politicians, this county where they're at, Becker County, the sheriff's office, everything went out there, why they went on the warpath to basically vilify her as much as they could leading up to this trial, because they knew that there was evidence against her, against Carol, that basically could make her not guilty. And they wanted to establish the narrative, especially in right-wing world up there. Especially in right-wing world up there. I want to remind people. We had and I said this on Monday when this trial started. You had the Hennepin County impound lot allow a right-wing news journalist into the impound lot to look at a vehicle, which was evidence, to do a smear campaign against the person who was being charged. Don't tell me that's not what the game that was played here. Don't tell me that wasn't the game that was played. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
For a decade, it's captivated Twin Cities audiences, and now the cultural phenomenon Glen Sheen returns. This captivating musical by Jeffrey Hatcher and Chan Poling features strong performances from a talented 7-member ensemble and Ron Peluso's brilliant direction. It's a limited engagement July 7th through the 25th at the History Theater in downtown St. Paul. Get tickets at historytheater.com. That's History Theater, spelled R-E.com.
I'll never forget. I was driving my Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota, and I was hit at 35 miles an hour, rear-ended square flush. If not for the structural integrity of my Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. There's a lot I can say about Rudy Luther Toyota, about their fantastic service department and their great selection, but being able to say your car saved my life is the best endorsement I can make. Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota are my highest recommendation. Get one today and tell them me, Matt McNeil, told you to stop on in. Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The month of July is National Carpet Cleaning Month, and because of that, Zero Res is offering a purchase of 3 rooms of carpet cleaned. Get 1 room free plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. Maybe you're having a barbecue for the 4th of July. We'll also have Aquatennial coming up in Minneapolis later this month. You want to make sure your home is fresh and clean for your friends and family coming over to celebrate. If your carpet's looking more like a snowbank in late March, muddy, crunchy, and kind of mysterious, it's time to call Zero Res, don't you know? These folks come in with their fancy schmancy ZR water. It's like regular water, but with a master's degree in cleanliness. Zero Res can handle it all. Carpets, tiles, rugs, upholstery, air ducts, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. So it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res today. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 952-ZERO-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Backorder forward spells the same. Zero Res.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. No, this was guilty because of a Democrat. That's what that is. There is no chance in hell this case would have gone to trial if it was a Republican that had been caught in the same exact thing. There's no way there's no chance on the planet it would have gone to trial. If it had gone to trial, the narrative would have been, well, this was seriously, their parents have a lot of Alzheimer's, and this was justified, and they would have been found not guilty because it's right-wing world up there, and there's no way you can get a fair trial up there because the mentality is they go up there and listen to the coverage of this prior to the trial. And like I said, you started listening to the evidence in the trial, especially of Carol, who, now, and here's, I guess, the big win. Everything now goes to her son she gave up for adoption. That, Nicole will get nothing, and Carol will gradually get worse and worse with her Alzheimer's, and her stepbrother gets everything. And this is why you need to have a will. And you don't have that slapped together at the last second. You got to have a will. I mean, and if there's one thing that we can say about this whole thing, if you need any more, I mean, just think about that. I want you to think about it. Imagine you had an inheritance and an Alzheimer-riddled step-parent basically said, nope, I'm going to give it to a kid that I gave up for adoption, all of it. And I don't want to give his own sister ashes and stuff like that. And she can't even remember when he died. She thought he died 25 years ago. No, this was prosecution because of the D. And that's the sad part is that, I can sit here and be critical of Nicole Mitchell, but I also have to sit here and say to myself, we have a 2-tiered legal system in rural Minnesota. Do you remember a few years back, where was it? Was it Crosby? There was a guy who stole all that money from the co-op and was bankrupting the co-op, and the co-op had to basically get shut down, and all these farmers were out of money. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that story, yeah.
Do you remember how they covered that guy? He just, he was trying to make some money, man. He wanted to be wealthy. Is that really a crime? Is wanting to be wealthy is a crime now, Matt? Guy stole millions of dollars. Nicole Mitchell didn't steal anything. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go find that story. I'm going to take a break. Let me take a break. I'm going to find that story. And, the way it was covered, it was, oh, well, I got too many other things I got to get to. But the way that story was covered was, so sure, some farmers got ripped off. But hey, do you really want to ruin this guy's life? Just think about that. Just think about that. I think I'm at the point where I think what we need to do is, if this is what we're going to have, you're going to have just such an obscene level of injustice handed out because of a politically ambitious, probably a politically ambitious prosecutor, a corrupt and biased police force, a jury pool who's already been told the outcome regardless of what you hear at the trial. Well, then maybe we need to go to a situation where your county can spend only the money that your county brings in. and the rest of it stays where the counties that have it. At least at that point, we can know that, our money isn't going out to fund this atrocity. That's maybe the only thing I can think of. And once again, as I say all this, I think Nicole Mitchell should have resigned. I still think she should have resigned because you need to have a will. But like I said, when you went into this trial and immediately the police were incompetent, they weren't doing their job. Carol Mitchell was clearly mentally compromised. The only witness they really had, well, it comes a situation where this was the verdict only, the testimony that it just, the verdict only thing that mattered was it was a Democrat, so we got to make him guilty. And I said that, and I want to make sure I say this for the record. I said that on Monday. There's a decent chance that up there, they don't care. They'll still convict her because she was a Democrat. And that's just the case. And here's the bad part about it. If it was a Republican in the same exact situation, that case would have never gone to trial. What about, I'll tell you what, let me prove my point when we do come back. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break, come back at the Matt McNeil Show.
I was thinking about the human race in the age of tenderness and rage.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is having its annual store-wide sale. For the entire month of July, all of our indoor and outdoor fireplace products and accessories are at their lowest price of the year. At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display, explain, and install the Twin Cities' most diverse selection of indoor and outdoor stoves and fireplaces, including metal and masonry pizza ovens.
While shopping for a fireplace insert at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, I was amazed at all the choices. Not just gas, electric, or wood burning, but also built-in or freestanding, and options in every style from antique to modern. The staff listened to us, explained the options, and helped us choose a fireplace we love. Now it warms our hearts and our home every winter. Thank you, Woodland Stoves, for a great addition.
Come see us. We have over 35 working displays in our store, which is just off I-94 at the corner of Riverside and East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, since 1977, out of the ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right? As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for showers and storms tonight with a low around 65, Saturday partly cloudy with a high near 79, and Sunday sunny with a high around 80. Experience live music like never before at Crooner's Supper Club. Enjoy top-tier performances in the main stage showroom, Dunsmore Jazz Room, or Under the Stars at the Belvedere. Plus, Maggie's Piano Lounge is always open with no cover charge. Find more details at croonersmn.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. I'll give you a great example because my argument is this. That as they got a guilty verdict against Nicole Mitchell out there because she's a Democrat, if a Republican was in the same situation, the same exact case, that same prosecutor and that same sheriff's department would not have, they would have tried to let them go. They would have walked away and they would have done nothing. And that what we have in rural Minnesota is this double standard of legal application, that if it's a Democrat, throw the book at him. And like I said, he tried to basically have her held until sentencing, which the judge said, oh, come on, no. The prosecutor, don't tell me it wasn't political. But they wouldn't do the same thing there. I want to remind you of someone. Who remembers last year when we talked about Representative Jeff Dotseth from Kettle River? He allegedly mused that he would own slaves if they were allowed today, called his then stepson Kunta Kinte after the enslaved African character from Roots, according to a 2008 affidavit on their stepson. His wife, Penny Cole, filed for divorce in 2007 in a blistering sworn affidavit described years of physical abuse. Cole's son also filed an affidavit detailing abuse, and we mentioned the fact that this son still has trauma from this guy. This is back in 2008. What happened in that case? Oh, that's right. He was initially charged with domestic assault and later pleaded guilty, was allowed to plead guilty to a lesser charge of disorderly conduct. He, with sworn affidavits against him, allegedly beat his wife and his son, physically assaulted them. The people that were accusing him were not riddled with Alzheimer's. Neither one of them. And yet he is allowed, well, come on, we don't want, he's a good old boy. He's a good old boy, man. We can't allow them to, if you prosecute him, you got to let him go. And so in the case there in Kettle River, granted, different jurisdiction. But once again, this is what you get in rural Minnesota. Here's a guy with credible allegations from two people that he physically abused them, and we're going to let you get away with disorderly conduct. There was no theft. She didn't steal anything. You have clearly enough reasonable doubt in the fact that mom was well into the throes of Alzheimer's, and you still found her guilty. And then you wanted to jail her until sentencing to teach that Democrat a lesson. You got a problem. Minnesota, you got a problem out there. If you're a Democrat and you get pulled over for a crime in rural Minnesota, guess what? They're going to charge you like you're freaking Hannibal Lecter. If you're a Democrat, that's what's going to happen. If you're a Republican out there, you can basically, probably get on Jeffrey Epstein's list. And they're going to be like, come on, she was 13. She was asking for it. Yeah, don't tell me there isn't a double standard. Because when I look at this and the amount of Republicans who have committed crimes out in rural Minnesota where it's, we don't want to do this. And then all of a sudden there's Nicole Mitchell. This is the crime of the century. What about Justin Eichhorn? Don't talk about him. He's not really a Republican anymore. Exactly. No, I'm going to say this. This is proof. You can't get a fair trial in rural Minnesota if you're a Democrat. Because from the evidence from the witness testimony I saw, there was more reasonable doubt than evidence in this case. Absolutely. So, yep, that's just what happens. And maybe we should just stay out of these areas. And I understand there are some people that got cabins and stuff out there, but what happens when you all of a sudden maybe have a drink and you rear end your car into somebody and they say, "What's your driver's license?" When the next thing they ask is, "Well, who'd you vote for the last election?" And if you tell them the Democrats, like, "Well, you're going to jail now. We're prosecuting you for the highest intent." If you say the Republicans, like, "Well, hey, we're going to let Bill get you a ride home. We're going to let just you go sleep this off, all right?" There it is. There it is. He wanted to jail her until sentencing. Please. Please. And this is why, by the way, and once again, I want to make sure you understand, this is why the right-wing media And all the right-wing politicians ran with the narrative as quickly as they could, and they hammered that county to make sure the entire jury pool was convinced she was guilty before the trial started. Because like I said, from the evidence I saw displayed in that trial, there was far more reasonable doubt than there was evidence. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I'm a little concerned about this. I saw this right before I came on the show. Political commentator, former senior state Republican Party official, said someone wearing a mask detonated an incendiary device in the trash can at the curb outside of his Eagan home early Friday. It was Michael Broadcorp. My family is safe but shaken, said Michael Broadcorp, who posted a brief account on Twitter, along with the security video of the explosion that occurred shortly after 12:45 a.m. I'm furious. The 51-year-old former deputy chair of the Republican Party of Minnesota said he's certain his home, where he lives with his wife and 3 children, was targeted by the perpetrator, but he's not sure whether the person knew Broadcorp lived there. The suspect rode a bicycle down the street outside my home, stood there for 4 to 5 minutes on the phone. It went off and they left. Broadcorp said the person whose face was covered in some way passed many trash cans on my street before signaling out the one at the end of the driveway. Broadcorp said police were notified. He was waiting for them to collect the evidence that left behind. Police Sergeant Rich Evans described the explosion as a mortar-style firework. He added that the arson investigation has been started in hopes of making an arrest. Broadcorp was a delegate for the Republican National Convention in 2008. He served as the deputy chair of the Republican Party from 2009 to 2011 and also worked with the state Senate Republican caucus in the 2024 presidential election, though the longtime GOP supporter broke with ranks, endorsed the Democratic nominee in Harris and running mate Governor Walz, who lost to Trump. And we've had him on the air multiple times. Yeah. I don't know who did this. I don't know why they did this. It could be random. It could just be random. It could be political. Now, what side of the aisle it comes from? I mean, my suspicion would be, and this is something that Michael has talked about on the air, is that because he realized the threat to our country that Donald Trump was, that he has put a target on himself for Republicans. It could be a deranged lefty. It could be. He's got, a resume that has that, but his politics lately have been far more middle of the road, Republican light, anti-Trump than anything else. I don't know if there's a reward that's up, but I will put some of my own personal money in on that. If there is, to the information that leads to the arrest and conviction of this individual, whoever did this. This is just wrong. And it's what's it's not escaping me that you have an extreme right terrorist kill Speaker Hortman and her husband, shoot Senator Hoffman and his wife, try to attack 2 more Democratic politicians. That you have a guilty verdict by Democrat in Detroit Lakes because she's a Democrat. And once again, there's no way in the world you can convince me that this was a Republican in the same situation, that they want to basically kept it quiet, allowed the person to walk away, and there would have been no charges. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt with zero doubt in my mind that was a prosecution and a guilty verdict by a jury that had already been told how to rule on it before that trial even started. Absolutely. And now you have this, which once again, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I have in regard to what happened at Michael Broadcorp's house. But considering his political stances of the last 2 years, it seems to me, I don't think it's an extreme stretch that if this was political, that there's a decent chance it probably was someone from the right trying to send a message about how dare you not love your grand leader, Trump. Yeah. It is. Yeah. I think we're seeing the playing field develop in front of us at this point. What is really going on right now? And a reminder, Donald Trump wants all the voting data for the state of Minnesota. Not because he's concerned about anything, but they're trying to figure out a way that they can discredit the election and install the people they want to run the state. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I'm going to take a little bit early here because I do have one thing that's a little bit of a positive, a rebuttal to these screaming flag harpies on the right. Anita Gall, our friend of the show, who I'm going to have on here in August sometime. She was part of an editorial. I'll talk about that when I come back. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Friday.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Your time is precious. Why are you still mowing your own lawn? I'm Alex Knorr, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. At Buzzcut Mowing, I offer weekly mowing, leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I work hard so you can relax and enjoy time with family and friends. Call today and I'll handle the rest. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shamblat. My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblat from Shamblat Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. So an editorial appeared in the Star Tribune to rebut that one from the Republican strategist, Andy Brem, who had said, everywhere I go, I don't see the new flag bad, which is ludicrous. Like I said, last week, I drove to the very western part of the state. In every county I was in, I saw the new flag. And not just on government buildings or on corporations or on the library, but on people's houses. Every single county, all the way across the state and back. And I came back a different route because I had to come down that 90 because I was down by Laverne. Here's the editorial. It is gratifying to see Minnesota new flag flying everywhere from city halls to farmsteads, not just in the Twin Cities, but across greater Minnesota. Despite what Minnesota Star Tribune and contributing columnist and Republican activist Andy Brem may think, Minnesotans in every part of the state are embracing the new flag. Basing claims about the flag's popularity on one county's response to it is inaccurate overgeneralization. And probably, once again, there are probably plenty of the new flag flying in his county. He just wants to, my guess is he's just conveniently ignoring that. Transitions to new things, whether it be new technologies, new programs, new shoes, new flags, naturally take time. Change is a gradual process. When the new flag was adopted, sales of the old flag initially outstripped sales of the new flag at Herald Flags, Lee Herald's flag store in Rochester. Herald now reports that flag sales the flag sales they are basically currently 50-50 as people grow accustomed to the new one and can foresee what the new flag will soon outsell the old flag. Many Minnesotans have adjusted the new flag and seek to move forward, but there are those who allege the new flag is a source of controversy and division. These naysayers continue to fan the flames of the culture war fire over the state flag with their incendiary articles and social media posts and complain that there is a fire. The sad truth is most of these claims about the new flag and its redesign process are either misleading or outright false. Perhaps this is done intentionally. Of course it's done intentionally because they don't have anything else they can run on this election cycle to continually fueling division, or perhaps it's these claims are made out of ignorance. Well, that could be that too. Either way, it's important to set the record straight. The new flag was the product of an independent, nonpartisan commission created by the Minnesota legislature and composed of members representing diverse constituencies and regions within the state. The commission accepted designs from the public, then provided multiple opportunities for Minnesotans to comment. Over 2,000 flag designs were received, and more than 20,000 Minnesotans provided feedback on those designs in 3 separate rounds of public comment. These written comments were followed up with public testimony from flag advisors as well as additional members of the public. From the initial call for submissions to the final selection, every step was guided by a commitment to inclusivity, clarity, and meaning. Indeed, the new flag, which was is rich with meaning and connections to Minnesota's history. The 8-point star is a replica of the North Star embedded in the rotunda at the state floor of the Capitol. The dark blue K shape represents the shape of our state. Its color represents the night sky. The bright blue field embolizes water. We are the land of 10,000 lakes. We are the home of the headwaters of the Mississippi River. Water is instrumental in the history and the economy and the development of identity of our state. And the new flag also visually represents the very name of our state, the Dakota word for land where the waters reflect the sky. To claim that the new flag is divorced from anything in Minnesota's past is so far from the truth, it's laughable. As to Bream's claims that the new flag is mediocre, flag experts and vexologists, those are people that specialize in flags, would beg to differ. The North American Vexillological Association, the largest organization of flag enthusiasts and scholars in the world, gives our new flag an A+ rating for its beauty, simplicity, and distinctiveness. Place a new flag in the lineup of all 50 state flags and one can immediately pick it up, unlike our previous flag, which was nearly indistinguishable from the 20 other states whose flags display the old seal and a bedsheet design. Like I said, none of them knew what the old flag looked like before the new flag it was replaced. They're all acting like, when I was a little kid and I was born, they wrapped me in my Minnesota state flag. No, they didn't. You didn't even realize it. You probably looked at Indiana's and like, oh, that's our flag. No, it's not. Oh, that's Iowa. No, okay. No, that's Wyoming. Oh, okay. They had no idea. It's unfortunate that Brem cannot recognize or accept the rich meaning and beauty of the new flag, choosing instead to decry it as ugly. Perhaps he should stop fanning the flames of this culture war fire. He could clear the smoke from his eyes and see the fine new emblem that future generations will proudly stand behind. We invite all Minnesotans, regardless of political party and the area of the state they live in, to join us in celebrating the flag design to bring us together. This was done by Louis Fitch, who is the chair of the Minnesota State Emblems Redesign Commission, and Anita Gall, who is the commissioner's vice chair. And it should be mentioned once again, 2 things that they do not mention within this letter. One is there were multiple Republicans that were on this committee too. That was by design. They want to, the mentality of the right is that it was Antifa and the LGBTQ and a bunch of pro-abortionists got together in a basement and forced it. And they said, how do we make our flag look like the Somali flag? I mean, that's what they think happened. That did not happen. We actually reported on it. We actually saw what happened. They're just hoping that their followers are stupid. And well, no, they're banking on their followers being stupid. The other thing which they don't address here, which I am going to freely address and I will address the entire time, is the old flag was racist. It was proudly racist. When it was designed under the argument that white Europeans were sent here by God to run Native Americans off their lands and steal it. It is. And Min posted a story about the fact that the wife of the guy that designed the state flag and the state emblem, his wife wrote a song basically backing that up at the time the flag was made, that this is about driving Native Americans off their land. Which we did in such a poor job and poor fashion that they rose up against us and frankly had a lot of very valid points. But then we basically force marched them out of the state and acted like, see, God. No. I'll say this like I said when the Confederate flag was around. If you don't understand the Civil War and the fact that the flag that you're flying, that Confederate flag, remember that was that the Rochester parade? One of the fire departments had a Confederate flag on their fire truck. And, wait a second here. That's the flag of the enemy that killed a lot of Minnesotans. Why are you flying that up here? It's good old boys, man. It's the good old boy network. No, it's not. That's the flag of a country that tried, an ideology that tried to keep slavery legal and killed a lot of Americans. And you're proudly waving it because, well, let's be honest, you kind of agree with them. Because if you don't agree with them, there's no reason in the world that you would be flying that flag. And you think we're all stupid that way. Now, it might not be as in your face as that, but the old Minnesota state flag was racist. And it was horribly racist. And I keep thinking about the Native American community in the state having to look at that flag and basically be told, oh, you need to be quiet for a century. And we finally had the guts to change it. And because Republicans have nothing to run on this next election cycle, they're trying to turn it into the culture war of all culture wars. They forced the flag on me. I can't take it. Well, no, you either, and I trust me, I've talked to a few of my neighbors that flying the old flag. I said, did you know this is racist? And they said, oh my God, no, I didn't realize it. Showed them the article. They took it down. There you go. The longer we keep telling the people that keep it up, well, at least we know what they really feel. And they can't say that that's not true. It's clear that it is. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow or till Monday. And until then, see ya.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The month of July is National Carpet Cleaning Month, and because of that, Zero Res is offering a purchase of 3 rooms of carpet cleaned.